At today's National Security Council, President Andrzej Duda unveiled the results of his latest diplomatic offensive. I think all participants are satisfied. Anyway, you could hear it from the participants, especially those who represented the opposition, which I personally welcome. We have led to the fact that the Tanks Battalion was created for Ukraine, so now they have 31 tanks. Even Spain has joined this coalition of countries owning Leopard 2A4 tanks. And so, as the president said, today the Polish Leopards have already arrived in Ukraine. Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki visited Kiev today, where he laid flowers at the memorial wall of those who died for Ukraine. He also visited a local hospital where aid is being provided to wounded soldiers. The head of the Polish government handed Volodymyr Zelensky the symbolic keys to the first 4 Leopard tanks that arrived from Poland to Ukraine. We have received the first tanks. They will support our defense. Thank you, Mateusz, for initiating the formation of this coalition. It is impossible to cooperate normally in coalition with Russia. These 365 days of war have reminded us that Russia listens only to the language of force and the language of resistance, the language of struggle, and getting along with Russia is a very breakneck task. Poland has been supporting Ukraine since the very beginning of the Russian invasion. Even a day before the war broke out, the president of Poland, Andrzej Duda, and the president of Lithuania, Gitanas Nausėda, arrived in Kiev. This was Volodymyr Zelensky's last diplomatic meeting before the Russian aggression. Poland also absolutely does not agree with such a position and with such actions of Russia. We will not accept the occupation of Crimea, the violation of Ukraine's borders, the violation of international law, any blackmail and restriction of the sovereignty of other free democratic nations. Initially, not all Western countries supported severe sanctions on Russia. Among others, Germany resisted removing Russia from the SWIFT international banking system. On February 26th, Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki traveled to Berlin for talks with Chancellor Olaf Scholz. The result of the meeting was a change in the German government's policy toward Russia. We need to cut off Russian financial institutions, Russian companies from financing on the capital markets, and take them out of the MSCI index. The financial world knows very well what this means. Close SWIFT to Russia. All sanctions are now on the table. In March, when the situation in Ukraine was critical and Kyiv was almost completely surrounded, an international delegation headed by Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki and President of the Law and Justice political party, Jarosław Kaczyński, arrived in the city. It was the first such visit since the beginning of the war. By contrast, President Andrzej Duda spoke at the Kyiv parliament in May. What is needed is a peacekeeping mission, a humanitarian mission, NATO and perhaps some other organizations, but a mission shielded by arms. Poland warned the world about the Kremlin's imperial plans as early as 2008 during Russia's attack on Georgia. At that time, however, late President Lech Kaczyński's voice was not taken seriously. Today, Georgia, tomorrow, Ukraine, the day after tomorrow, the Baltic states, and later perhaps time will come for my country, Poland. The memory in Georgia of the 2008 Russian aggression is still alive. Russia is already a loser. It has failed to achieve its own military goals. It has failed to remove the Ukrainian government. It has also failed to exhaust the patience of the people. And it has failed to erode international support. Today, the administration of U.S. President Joe Biden announced the imposition of further sanctions on Russia. Moreover, the United States will provide Ukraine with, among other things, $250 million in emergency aid to repair energy infrastructure, but also combat drones, artillery, and mine clearance equipment. In parallel, the European Union is working on a 10th package of sanctions.